Please join me for the pledge.
We're doing it again.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I thought it was kind of like.
Welcome, everybody, to the regular city council meeting for today. Start with a roll call, please.
Weber,
Yes.
Houston,
Here.
Hannah,
Yes.
Moore,
Here.
Versater,
Here.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen.
Here.
Next, I need a motion to approve the agenda. So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Next, we move to public comment. Brian, you want to start first?
Bless you.
Update on active projects. The Second Street Bridge project, the construction is ongoing, as I'm sure all of you have noticed. The deck milling is complete. The Class A deck repair is nearing completion, and a little good news, we're running under the estimated quantities right now. It doesn't look like we'll get into any Class B repair. Removing the approaches and slabs, the approach slabs today, and preparing for the approach slab paving that will likely happen the end of this week. So the contractor tells us they're running a little ahead of schedule. Everything, of course, is weather dependent, but things are looking good right now.
What's the expected date, completion date?
The required completion date is July 1st.
Okay.
The anticipated schedule had them finishing well ahead of that.
Good.
Good.
And then some other good news to share. The presentation for the funding application that this body endorsed 2 weeks ago, I believe. We were successful in being awarded $230,000 in funding for the 2028 street rehab project. So that's competitive grant funding. And that just happened on Thursday, Matt and I were over at that
Thank you.
presentation.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that at the end.
All right, well, you can give them more detail.
Update, is the complex all done? And
The complex is done with the exception of the seating, and I think Bob had requested that we make a couple changes. The contractor contacted me that he may be looking at doing some sod work rather than seating in order to finish those areas inside. So that's the only significant remaining work to do on that project. So it's better than probably 95% complete.
oh,
Great
good.
question.
Thanks.
So, well,
A question I have, when I spoke with them today on the bridge, before they can put the deck on, they were telling me you have to have 3 consistent nights of 44 and above for it to adhere properly.
That's
Is
correct.
Is that correct?
Yep, and they'll brush that with a special binding product before that type O concrete. It's a special type of concrete that they use for that deck overlay.
Because he was saying it's hard, depends on how the weather is on when they can actually put the deck down.
That's right. It's weather dependent. He's absolutely right.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure the information I got from him was correct.
Yep, and I think there'll be some time if the weather continues to be a little sketchy. They'll probably be able to do some of that additional work underneath of the bridge, those drain extensions that the council approved as change order number 1. They'll probably move to doing that type of work if the weather isn't suitable to take care of the overlay.
Could you explain, I just had a lot of people question why we were doing this bridge of all the projects, and I said it was because, could you explain that better than I could? I just said there was things underneath and the drainage was a problem, but I think you could probably give it a better.
Go ahead, Brian.
Sure. The deck deterioration that we were seeing at the surface of not only that bridge, but the First Street Bridge, when the First Street Bridge was originally milled, there was a lot more damage and a lot more unsound concrete under that surface than we originally anticipated. So for those of you who were on the council at that time, you recall that there were cost overruns. And so time is kind of the enemy when it comes to salt and chemical damage to the concrete over time. So that bridge was done in the late 60s, and with the surface defects that we were seeing, it was determined as a priority, especially after what we found on the First Street Bridge, to bump that up in the schedule.
We actually had it scheduled last year, and then the contractor requested that he start this spring. And then when we did our bridge inspection, we had a couple of additional items which you approved so we could do it all at one time. So that's the rest of the work.
Okay. And it had something to do with some drainage, too, is that my understanding?
That's the part that came up with the inspection.
Okay.
The drain extensions.
Yep, training extensions.
And there were just a lot of questions from people about that.
Yep, and the approaches will be done, as well as the joints. There was an accident that occurred with a snowplow that occurred while the snowplow was out working because of the deterioration of that joint at the end of the bridge. So it was time for it to be rehabilitated, and thankfully not replaced, just rehabilitated.
But their goal is those approaches on Second Street are supposed to be done by the end of this week, is what they were telling me, if weather permits.
Yeah, if weather permits, yep, that's their goal.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Brad.
Brian.
Okay, next we have Allison Michaels. Are you, want to come up, please? How are you?
Good, yep.
Good.
Okay, so I'm here this evening to introduce myself. I'm Allison Michaels, and I'm the one that volunteered to take on Oakwood Cemetery.
Oh,
I
that's nice.
I grew up, born and raised here in Independence, grew up. Every time I drive by that cemetery for the last year, it's just been heartbreaking to me to see the condition it's became. I had a meeting with Matt Schmitz and Susie and Bob Beatty, and then Tony Bankston was also part of the meeting. And we discussed what needed to be done. I know Matt was going to check in with the city, or with IndyTel on helping get the trees down so that there's like 13 dead trees in the cemetery that need to be removed, and if they're not, they're just going to keep falling down and busting more stones and costing more funds to get it fixed up. And we also agreed on doing a fundraiser, and Matt wanted it to be something historical or something monumental to the cemetery. And I checked with AA Armory, and we were able to get a Henry repeating firearms, long rifle 22 in the military tribute. So it has a beautiful American flag on it. It says, "We honor our heroes." Very nice firearm. And I think Susie is waiting for Matt to approve the format of the raffle tickets, and as soon as we get them, we can start selling. And they'll be sold for $10 each. You know, it's a very nice firearm, $1,100 worth. And I'm hoping I have your guys' support. And I have one question, and that is, when I am selling raffle tickets, because this is a City of Independence owns the cemetery, I want to know if I would be able to set up on Main Street, like a card table and a chair and myself, and sell raffle tickets like during the day sometime. I know it's something that you guys will have to discuss and get back with me on, but you know, it's something that I'm taking an interest in, and also setting up down there in front of the cemetery. I have to wait until the weather permits to start cleaning. I found a special cleaner for the tombstones that they use in Arlington National Cemetery. So from the time it's put on and we clean them, it should continue to clean and keep them clean for several more months. And then next year, we just have to go back through and spray them down again, and it should kill all the mold and, you know, all the growth and fungus and stuff that's grown on them to keep it looking nice.
Is your attempt to repair some of the stones?
Yes. I have, you remember, Tony. Tony Bankston is qualified to repair the stones. Tony is going to come and work with us. I'm asking for volunteers. I'm not afraid to take on volunteers, and I'll for one stone, it's one less for me to clean.
I'll volunteer to help you.
I appreciate that.
And are you going to replace anything?
The only thing I would like to replace, and that all depends on funds when we get to that point, is there are lamp posts in different corners in there. The electricity is already there. These posts are laying on the ground, busted off, broken. You know, they just, to me, I don't believe they're repairable. That's the only thing I'd like to replace. I have 2 nephews that are Scoutmasters, and they have several boys that are working towards their Eagle projects. And they were going to discuss with them because last year, one of them's son wanted to repair a stone in there and was told they couldn't. I don't know by who. I just know that they were told they couldn't. And so they are wanting to work on it with part of their Eagles, and they are also willing to bring in their regular pack and help clean with it as part of their county conservation.
Have you had any conversations with Patty Myers through veterans at the courthouse?
I have not.
She might be a contact you could reach out to. She orders all of our medallions or whatever, the stakes for the veterans.
Correct.
We're redoing Mount Hope right now, trying to update all those. And so I don't know if there's anything with stones or not, but it wouldn't hurt to reach out to her.
Okay.
Allison, your 5 minutes are up, unfortunately. But we will, we'll set up a time for a work session where we can talk about the issues about where you can sell the raffle tickets from and things of that nature as well. But thank you for your time. We appreciate
And
it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and appreciate you spearheading that.
Facebook is on. Facebook's
It
on.
does.
Okay, we'll next move to the, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second it?
So that includes the minutes of the March 11, 2024 regular meeting, the Brubicue 2024 special event application for Saturday, August the 24th of 2024, and a bow hunting request from Curtis Cooksley. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
All right.
Who made the motion in the second?
I made the motion.
And who was the second?
I don't think anyone did.
I think it was Ralph.
I think it was Ralph.
Okay,
Got it?
yes, thank you.
I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Next, we move to the financials. I need a motion to approve the claims for payment.
So moved.
Second it?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Next, we move to the revenues and expenses to date. That's information only. Anybody have any questions with respect to it? Hearing none, we'll move to the transfers. Again, that's information only. Anybody have any questions with regard to that?
That's good information, Suzie, thank you.
Next, we move to hearings and ordinances. That's item number 9 on the agenda. I need a motion to set April 8, 2024 at 4:45 p.m. as the public hearing on the fiscal year 2025 budget.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Crusader.
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Next, we move to item number 10. Going to start, I need a motion to approve the first reading of an ordinance that amends provisions pertaining to public health and safety, that's fireworks. So I need a motion and a second, and then we'll have discussion following that.
I'd like to make a motion that we propose to allow fireworks in the City of Independence on July 3rd and July 4th each year, ceasing by 11 p.m. on those days, as well as December 25th, ceasing by 11 p.m., and January 1st by 11 p.m. each year.
I'll second it.
Do you have
Okay.
it written down by?
I do.
Okay,
Get it to you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we now move to discussion on that. I know there's some people that want to talk. Who wants to be first? Brian?
I'm not too bashful.
Never in a million years, I think that of you.
Good evening, I'm Brian Kylabor. I live at 1110 Fifth Street Northeast, and I'm also a veteran. And I've had two brother-in-laws that would just about crawl under the table if somebody let off a firecracker. They're both Vietnam vets. Now, I didn't see any combat. They babysit me pretty heavy when we were in Panama. Though I've been overseas numerous times. And I'd speak in opposition to it. Not just the veterans, but the dogs. My dogs go nuts when they light off fireworks. And if they want to light off fireworks, have them go someplace outside the city limits is my thoughts. And yeah, I don't like them, but that's not the real issue. You take some of the guys it really bothers, and those aren't the guys that are willing to come forward and talk either, usually. So I would like you to maybe consider not allowing the fireworks inside the city limits. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Vicki?
I'm Vicki Pilcher. I live on the northwest side of Independence. And my question is, why? Because I listen to fireworks for a month around the 4th of July. And if I take that's just a block away from me. If I take a walk around the neighborhood, random fireworks for a month around that 4th of July. And so I don't think we need to add to it. Back when we let people do it, it was like a war zone. My husband and I tried to take a walk, and there'd be fireworks shooting off across the street in front of us, and people's houses were getting damaged. I know of firsthand from the owners of pets getting injured by trying to jump over a fence. One dog died of a heart attack. He got so nervous from fireworks. So we know it affects people. It affects everybody with PTSD, anxiety disorders, especially think about our veterans. It affects pets. It affects wildlife. Wildlife and birds get lost. They get so shook up, they get lost and don't get back to their offspring. And I Googled it today, and it even affects bees, our pollinators, that we rely on for food. And I just want to end with the greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members. And that's from Coretta Scott King. So thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Vicki.
you,
Thank you, Vicki.
Next.
Vicki also asked me to come. My name is Tracy Bell. I run Wild Thunder Wildlife Rehabilitation, and we're also the pound for the Buchanan County Sheriff. And I'm here to talk about not only post-traumatic stress of the veterans, which that was covered, but the animals. Right now, everybody is nesting. We've got babies, and fortunately, we've got the city and everybody cutting down trees, so we're already seeing the babies come in. But it spooks the mothers, and the mothers take off. We end up with unnecessary orphans left behind. Dogs are getting injured. Our stray numbers, they significantly increase during the week that we have fireworks going off. Dogs are getting injured, cats are getting injured, and then we don't even want to talk about the inhumane behavior of some of the people who are using fireworks. I've seen some horrible things we're not going to discuss here right now, and it's usually within city limits of people of certain ages. But it's the animals, the dogs, the cats, the wildlife, and we're already high. The orphans are already starting to roll in. I'm not a big fan. I myself have post-traumatic stress, and hearing the testimony from other people who have it from combat zones and the impact it has on wildlife and animals, I just don't think it's a good idea within city limits. Again, there's other places that can do it.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Anybody else?
Just from a historical perspective on the,
Oh,
My name is Julie Clammer. I live at 511 2nd Avenue Northeast. I know years ago when I first moved here, you were on board. I don't remember if you were on board. We had this discussion about fireworks. Mine is not the only old neighborhood in Independence. My home was built in 1870.
A lot of the homes have cedar siding, they have old roofs on them. When the fireworks go off, they can end up on top of the roof. They can catch up in the shingles on the siding. There's too much to lose in our neighborhood to turn around and start allowing fireworks just for fun. We have enough of it off of Teachers Park, which is right off of most of our back of the property. We've got an hour of that. We're fine with that. I had dogs that I used to have to get doggy downers from my veterinarian because they were a mess.
And they certainly didn't stop shooting them at 11 o'clock at night either, did they?
No, they did not. And there were times that even when we had the ordinance of no fireworks that go up off the ground, the police were sitting right in Teachers Park. Neighbors around us were shooting them off. I believe one of them had a permit one time. Now, if you need a permit out back in Teachers Park and you need a permit in your neighborhood, I'm not sure why you guys want to authorize anybody to be setting off fireworks. Thank you.
Thanks, dear.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Could someone read this?
Yeah, I'll read it. Brenna Gray, who's the veterinarian over at PAWS, has written a letter. She was going to try to get here tonight, but apparently she didn't make it yet. So I'm writing to express my strong opposition to the proposed ordinance allowing fireworks in our town. As a veterinarian who deeply cares about the well-being of our community, including our beloved pets, I'm deeply concerned about the potential negative impacts fireworks can have on animals, particularly their anxiety and distress. Pets such as dogs and cats have heightened senses and are often deeply affected by loud noises and bright flashes. Firework displays can cause significant stress and anxiety for our furry companions, leading to a range of negative behaviors and health issues. As a veterinarian and pet owner, I've witnessed firsthand the detrimental effect fireworks can have on animals, including trembling, hiding, excessive barking, and even attempts to escape from their homes and self-harm. Furthermore, the indiscriminate use of fireworks poses safety risks not only to pets, but also to humans and property. Fireworks-related accidents, fires, and injuries are not uncommon, especially in populated areas. Allowing fireworks in our town increases the likelihood of such incidents, putting both residents and their pets at risk. I urge the City Council to consider the well-being of our entire community, including our animal companions, when making decisions regarding fireworks regulations. Instead of permitting unrestricted use of fireworks, I propose exploring alternative ways to celebrate special occasions that are far less disruptive and safer for everyone. Our town has a wonderful celebration with Celebrate Indy that provides organized public displays in designated areas. This allows those with pets to make arrangements for them to be out of the area during the specified time if they have noise phobias. In conclusion, I respectfully request that the City Council reconsider the proposed ordinance and prioritize the welfare of our pets and residents. By taking proactive measures to limit fireworks usage, we can create a more compassionate and harmonious environment for all members of our community. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I look forward to hearing your response and working together towards a solution that benefits everyone. Signed, Brenna Gray. Let's start with council. Ralph, do you want to start in terms of anything that you might have to add to any of that?
Okay. In regards to the fireworks, the motion that I seconded that was made has a parameter of just certain days and a certain time frame. We all know people are going to buy fireworks and shoot them off. If we allow the opportunity and use it as a trial basis, I guess, we're going to be making if we make the ordinance, if you set a certain time frame, our law enforcement has a better opportunity if they are available to possibly get people that shoot off that's not during this time frame.
Ralph, we did have a trial several years ago.
You did?
That's why this is all voted down no.
1 year. Are we going to do discussion, or are we going to go person by person?
We're going to go person by person.
Okay.
And
You're going to get your turn.
so I wasn't here when your trial happened, so I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence, but I've also heard from a lot of people say, we can buy fireworks all over town, but then you tell us we can't shoot them off. Well, I kind of agree with that, you know? But, you know, the state says these fireworks can be sold. And so the state is allowing it, so should we try again, now that I didn't know it happened before, but should we try again, and if we set certain parameters based on those hours and timeframes on just certain dates, can we control it more? And one other thing is by having that certain set time frame, the loudness is not the same as our hour-long performance that the city puts on above the river. And above the river, we all know that that river carries the sound throughout the whole town, the whole community. I mean, when they're up north hunting geese, I hear the gunshots all the time on the river when they're hunting up north, and I live clear over there because it seems to follow that railroad track and the river and everything. And we make more noise in that hour of our city-sponsored fireworks than all fireworks in the entire community put together would ever make, as far as I'm concerned. Give it a trial. If it doesn't work out right, we can always, you know, remove it, is my feeling.
Brian?
All right, I got a bunch of notes here. So I want to address some of the things that were said. First of all, thank you very much to the public coming in and speaking. Again, like I said, thank you ladies for coming, all of you coming in, standing at that podium and voicing your opinion. That's so needed to help us make good decisions. So going back, one of the things I just wanted to, nobody needs a history lesson here, but as I went through and researched this to truly find out why I feel so patriotic about the tradition of fireworks, my family extended clear out to aunts and uncles, things like that. And I went back and said, you know, I don't want just opinions. I want to know what has been written about this because it can't be the first time that this has ever come up. And found that fireworks have been a celebrated tradition since July 4th, 1777, during the first organized celebration of Independence Day. That's huge to me. That's the reason I'm here, is for what those people did on that day. So I think that that's something that we shouldn't just discount. We celebrate it every year as a city, and I think that as individuals, we should be able to celebrate that as well, with constraints. And that's why I made that motion that I did. I don't think, as Vicki mentioned, if you guys were out walking and there was a firework that went past you and your husband, I would want you to call the 911 and let's get the police involved, because somebody is doing that in a very disrespectful manner, right, and irresponsible.
We did call.
So
hold on.
Let me just say, we did call.
That's not how this works.
I made several calls last year about the month-long fireworks every afternoon and or evening till midnight or after. Nothing happened. Gave them the exact address. Nothing happened.
Vicki?
And that's when it's not even legal.
Vicki, I'm sorry, I can't let you talk further because you had your chance already, and we're going through the council now.
And I did address you, Vicki. I'm glad you said that. I just wanted to let you know that I do sympathize with that and agree with you. If that's going on, that is irresponsible. And I don't know what my time limit is, Meyer, so I don't want to.
You don't have a time limit. I have a time limit.
And then, yeah. Yes, exactly. So I think that's why it's so important. I would like to find a common ground, or propose that common ground, that we can enjoy that tradition of, as individuals, to set out those fireworks under specific times. I think that in doing that, if we make that change, that needs to be a collaboration of both the city manager and our chief of police to make sure who was not in that time, was not in that position at that time, to follow up on those and see that we get some sort of a result. Talking about animals, I mean, obviously that's important. I think darn near everybody in this room is impacted by a pet, either theirs or a loved ones that they care very deeply for, me included in that. I actually went through, and I'm going to date myself. I'm 48 years old, and I've owned an animal, either a dog or a cat, for 41 of those years. So I'm definitely an animal lover. As Dr. Gray mentions in here, again, going back to the professional Dr. Gray and what she's saying in her opinion, professional opinion, the indiscriminate use of fireworks. Absolutely, I agree. I do not, that's why this was worded the way it was. I do not want indiscriminate use. We should put guidelines on it that are temporary times on 3 to 4 days out of the year, and make those published. Accidents and fires, I apologize. I did not find, or go after that information to find out how many fires or homes or property that was brought up has been damaged due to a firework that would have been the cause of that. I mean, I could reach out to our fire chief and ask, Chief, can you weigh in on that at all for us? Down the road if we look to that to get answered, because he should be able to answer that. Obviously, if a firework is causing that problem, then that's going to be a fire marshal decision that that's what caused this issue. Obviously, considering the well-being of our entire community is what's utmost important to this group. Again, I agree with Dr. Gray on unrestricted use of fireworks. So, and also just with that, because we have, and I made a note here with her letter, I don't know how allowing people to shoot fireworks during that time is any different than the 1 hour and 20-minute celebration that we hold that wouldn't have the exact same result as anybody else lighting fireworks off in our city. I know there's different classifications, class 1, class 2, class 3. I'd be very surprised if what we don't shoot off is class 3, and anybody else in town is only going to be able to get their hands on class 1, I believe. So that would sound to me that that's going to make a difference in noise and how that would affect both animals and people. You know, this, and I don't want my comment to be taken smart alecky, because I don't mean it that way. But I wish Dr. Gray was here, because I really do want to ask, when she has a client, of which we are, my wife and I are, with our 2 dogs, when a client comes in and says, my dog is deathly afraid of my vacuum cleaner, which is a well-known thing that one of the biggest fears of pets and animals is the household vacuum cleaner, I guarantee Dr. Gray doesn't say get rid of them. There are other things that can be done. Those animals can be put into a different room. I do it with mine. I close the windows on the 4th of July when our city celebration is going on. So I know there are other things that can be done. And I should have led with this when we talk about our veterans. There's nobody else that I hold in a higher regard than our veterans. They are the people that from 1777 have got us here to this day with the things that have gone on. We are celebrating our independence, that those individuals, whether they saw active duty or not, were an integral part, and we want to celebrate them with that tradition. I think that we ought to have a right to do that as individuals. But bigger than that, not poo-pooing that, as I look at relativity, the silliness of the vacuum cleaner. In our town, we celebrate for 1 hour and 20 minutes with those extremely loud fireworks, and those veterans are here when we do it. When I sit with my mother and father at Veterans Park on Veterans Day, and we do a 21-gun salute to honor those people, where are they? Most likely sitting right there in that park with us. So, and I'm sorry, it's that I feel very strongly about this, and I'm trying to look at the relativities here. Penn University of Medicine published July 3rd of 2020. And I'm sorry, I'm getting long-winded, but I really want to make sure that I get all this out. This was published by Penn University. I told you when. The question was asked, what actions can be taken to be more considerate of our neighbors who may be living with PTSD, which was mentioned, or any other mental health conditions, which is very important to the City of Independence. We all know why. Thank you for the employment. Penn University of Medicine answered, everyone can be more considerate in a few ways. If you are going to use fireworks, try to make sure it is at a predictable time. We talked about that with the motion. Veterans and society in general, veterans and society in general expects fireworks on the 4th of July weekend, but not necessarily on a random Tuesday in August, which I thought was kind of funny and brought it to real life. The other suggestion is to restrict their use to reasonable hours, so trying to wrap them up, for example, by 10 o'clock was their suggestion. My motion said 11. Can be a great way to make sure you are not impacting too many people's sleeping habits. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Mike?
Yeah. The most phone calls I've had in 10 years has not been on a tax issue. It's been on this issue.
and it's come from all age groups, and it's come from all demographics. Single people, family members, extended family members. And we tried this, what was it? We tried it for a year, didn't we, Debbie?
Yes.
Voted for it, tried it. It was a complete failure. And there were, I mean, regardless of the timeframes, they exceeded the timeframes. They did it on days before, days after. We had people hit in the head with bottle rockets on 2nd Avenue. And this is when we were all heading down to the park for the fireworks. So it was that excessive. And there were strings of firecrackers thrown out in the street by people who were walking, trying to get to it and stuff. And it doesn't work. I mean, we still have trouble with the enforcement. Chief, I think I've contacted you a couple times about, by me, different ones that were shooting off, and it was like, and it was rockets. It was mortar type things that were going up in the air. And it's hard. I mean, they've got a difficult job as it is. They've got calls to make and people to serve, and then this is added to their plate, and it's just, it's been totally unsuccessful. And the last call I got before I came in here was it was from two veterans, and one was talking, one was standing in the background, talking to, and your dad, your uncles, all you guys served, all this, and yeah, and have some respect, your family was World War I through everything. So that's what I got. Okay. Catherine?
Well, it seems like nobody's following the current process that we have in place. We're totally restricting it. So I'm all about trying to find a compromise. I received absolutely no phone calls regarding this matter. I don't know if people in my neighborhood just don't or what, but...
I had people from your neighborhood that called me.
Oh, well, they didn't call me, and I've got my phone with me all the time. I would rather see, if we're going to have just willy-nilly people shooting them off anyway without regard to any rules, having some more of a structure to what we allow. That's just the way I am because of the way I think, but right now what we're doing isn't working. People are buying them and shooting them off, so I don't know how we can fix that.
Okay. Deb, you want to go next?
Yeah, when you say about us being fireworks since 17-something, that's great. I don't think the public hardly weighs in that we have our great display down there. Everybody tolerates that whether they like it or not. You don't hear people complain that, hey, the city's shooting them off and I don't know where you get an hour and 20 minutes because it's usually less than a half hour, but whatever. And so I don't think that the majority of people are against that. And the year we allowed it, it was just constant. It ended up to like 2 o'clock in the morning at least. You just about get to sleep and they go off again. And like Vicki said, it's close to a month they do it. The phone calls for Mike and I both, I know, on the 4th of July were tremendously till at least 2 o'clock in the morning. So I am going to tell you guys all, whether anyone likes it or not, anyone that sits here and votes yes on this and it passes, I will have your phone number when I get the calls. Call this person because I voted against it. That's the way I'm going to vote on it. When you talk about the damage to it, people shot the fireworks in my neighborhood. The minister at Episcopalian Church was concerned. She had an asphalt roof. The things were hitting her roof. I sit out in my front yard and watch the fireworks. We literally had them in front of us, so that's how close they hit. Tried to contact the neighbors, knew who they were. It did make a difference. And I think people probably see it on Facebook that Patty Myers had something out there about the veterans because the veterans confronted her about it. So, our veterans are definitely against them. It's not like the 21 gun salute. They're used to hearing the rifles go off. It's the bombs that scare the shit out of them. And that's what those sound like, is bombs, not rifles. And so for our PTSD people, I think it's just wrong, and we tried it. It didn't work.
Tom?
I want to repeat what Brian led off with. Thank you all for your comments and that. It's a frustration that the council has that we don't get more people in for comments and attendance at these meetings. So really appreciate that. there are a few things that I can agree with Brian on. One thing that I have a problem with is the study that you had, whereas if fireworks are set off in consideration of other people, that would be not a problem. I can equate, and I know it's a stretch, but I can equate our walking trail. 95% of the people that use that walking trail use it, love it, and respect other people with their pets. We always have the 5% that just don't care. And we're going to have that with fireworks, I'm afraid, too. And I've voiced my opinion before about, before I get to that, the city, when the city sets off the fireworks, they have a company that's licensed and professionals to do that, and it's a lot different from other ordinary people setting off fireworks. Okay, it's a totally different thing. If you want to maybe not conflict with when the city sets off the fireworks, I can understand that, because I think that's from what I hear, there's a lot of popularity with Independence's 4th of July fireworks. But what I was going to get at, I've said it before, I don't understand how we can not say that people cannot set off fireworks and then allow companies to come in and sell the fireworks. And there's nothing that is said that, oh, you can buy all you want, but you just can't set them off in the city limits. To me, that is wrong. And maybe there's a legal thing about it, but in our code of ordinances, we've got other examples of things that we don't allow in this city with the ordinances. So, I would be all in favor, if we're not going to do it, that these places that sell the fireworks, they have to have something posted that says, buy all you want, but you just can't set them off in the city limits. I don't think legally there's a problem with that. I really don't. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm a lot like Catherine in regards to, I do want to try to make it so that everybody in the community can enjoy the fireworks. Brian has said setting times for the community to be able to set them off, I think, is something that allows when people do go out and purchase them, because we can sell them in the city limits. It gives a specific time that that people that are shooting fireworks off can go and have that time to shoot them off. listening to everyone who's come here tonight, I really haven't heard anybody in favor of the fireworks other than the people that are sitting up here on the council. And I have spoke with several people in my ward, and that kind of reflects what I've heard from everyone in the audience. And I'm put on this council to speak for them and vote for them. And for me, like, no matter what I want to do, I still have to do what the majority of the people that I see are talking to me or telling me.
Thanks, Brett. Dave, I don't want to put you on the spot too much, Dave, I know, but I know that you and Blake participated in putting some of the information together in terms of the timeline and that sort of thing. Is there anything that you can add to what we've been talking about? Does this make it easier or harder for you to enforce if we have specific time limits, or?
I think it's going to be the same thing as what we've had.
Come up.
Sorry. So I thought last year we were doing a good job on enforcement, and then I got told no. So I would say if it's going to be that bad, just go ahead and legalize for those periods when we have the least amount of people available to make the calls.
I think
Probably should do that with pot too then, shouldn't we?
Well, but I tried.
I mean,
I worked hard, and you jumped me after I told you how good we had done, and you gave me an attaboy, and then I came back and you yelled at me 2 weeks ago about fireworks, if you remember.
Yeah, I do.
So if there's no pleasing, then my vote would be to vote for it.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
There's always room for a lot of changes for everything.
Thanks, Chief.
Blake, I know that you were also participated in helping with the timelines and stuff like that. Can you maybe
Give us the fire piece.
Can you maybe share with us what the state's position is with regard to
Yeah,
the
so
fire?
to answer Brian's question quick, we haven't had any fire-related events or anything like that. I can't speak to injuries because we haven't been called out for those, but the hospital will be able to give you some information on that. As far as the state law permits it, the Iowa Fire Association has registered against it. That's just where they stand.
Thank you, Blake.
Thank you, Blake.
Thanks, Blake.
Okay, so we're ready to take, okay, so just so we're clear, this is the first reading, so there'll be 3 readings before this is actually a change of an ordinance, but this is the first reading. And Brian, the ordinance, the changes that we had in the packet itself,
Go through those? So do you want me to go through them and say, because the ordinance was written, the ordinance example that we put in there, the times that were in there were from my conversations with Chief Niedert. The rest of the stuff that's in there is all things that, well, item I was in our current code already, and that's that the permit for display fireworks. So that's the permit process for things like what happens in the park.
So if somebody's allowed to shoot these off, they have to have this personal insurance at $250,000 per
No,
person?
this is just for display fireworks. This is not for consumer fireworks. Item I only applies to like your Celebrate Indy performance, that type of stuff. Those would have to have, and the council would have to have.
So if somebody comes in and asks for a permit and we give it to them, they don't have to have any proof that they've got insurance to cover any kind of damage?
If somebody, so the only permit process that's in place in this current ordinance, the way it's written, is that one for display of fireworks on public property by a city agency, fair, association, amusement park, or other organization or group, if approved by city authorities when such display of firework will be handled by a competent operator. Then they would have to have those insurance requirements. If you're talking about an individual at their home shooting fireworks off, item E addresses that and says any person discharging a consumer fireworks device assumes all responsibility for its operation and the consequences thereof. No person shall discharge a consumer firework device in a reckless manner or manner likely to cause death, injury, fire, or property damage. This language that's in here is from the Iowa League of Cities. This is their model language. If you're going to approve fireworks, these are the things you need to have in there. The first one being that no person under the age of 18 shall discharge any consumer firework without parental supervision. Item B, no person shall discharge any consumer firework on any sidewalk, street, or any public right-of-way or public property, including parks. Item C, a person shall only discharge a consumer firework device on real property they own or on property where consent has been given in writing. Item D, consumer fireworks shall not be discharged by persons showing visible signs of or determined to be intoxicated or under the influence of a drug or narcotic. And then item E, we already talked about. Item F outlines the times. Item G says that it shall be unlawful to alter, remove, or discharge components of a consumer firework device from its intended method of discharging. And then item H says that sky lantern open flame devices are not permitted to be released within the city limits except if tethered by a retrievable rope, so long as the person discharging has control over the sky lantern.
And those are what's mandated by the state.
Those are not.
For the most part.
There's no mandate by the state there. This
That's
is
what they
just model
recommend.
language from the League of Cities.
League of
If you're
Cities.
going to approve fireworks, this is the model language that they put out there that you should include in your ordinance.
So when you asking that question, Mayor, I think the only changes that I saw that differs from my motion to this is I went 1 hour later to 11 PM.
Okay.
And my thought process on it, just to explain, was Deb was saying, we usually end 10 or right there after because of darkness. You know, we only have some, got to wait that late. And then I gave it 11, let people, if they want to do it then, let them burn theirs off and give them an opportunity to do that. And then I did not consider the date of December 30th. I just looked at December 31st. And you know, I was wrong. I said January 1st, and that was wrong. I probably should have said December 31st. My intention was for New Year's Eve.
So are you keeping the 12:30 a.m. then?
I'm sure.
Okay.
Excuse me. I want to back up. I think I would still probably put, I originally, when I was putting my notes together, I said 11 o'clock, even on New Year's Eve. Out of respect for, yeah, like you say, somebody said people have jobs, I heard. And that was my thought process.
Okay, so it's July 3rd from 12 p.m. to 11 p.m., July 4th, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m., December 25th, 4 p.m. to 10 or 11?
11.
11 also. And then December 31st, 4 p.m. to?
I'm going to say 11. And I think that there's my thought process behind that is we don't need to change the dates on different, we don't need to change the times on different dates. I think if people know 11, they can associate that. Our noise ordinance, I believe, is 11 o'clock. Is that correct?
I don't know off the top.
Yeah, I would have to look that up as well, but I thought that was a close.
Dave,
do you know that off the top of your head?
Is our noise ordinance 10 or is it 11? I think it's 10.
10.
So maybe we need to look at,
Well, and we could definitely do that. I would certainly entertain that. My thought process, the only reason for going later is I know traditionally we get done with our city fireworks on the 4th at roughly 10 o'clock. So I thought that would give people an opportunity to get theirs burned up then after that as well, not to take away from the city.
Okay, so it's the 3rd to 4th until 11 p.m., Christmas Day until 11 p.m., and then New Year's Eve until 11 p.m.
11 p.m.
And you were the second, so you approve those changes?
I approve the changes.
Okay, then roll call vote.
Hannah,
So if you're voting no, you're against the fireworks being shot off?
Correct. If you're voting no, you're against it.
No.
Moore,
Yes.
Prasada,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
No.
Jensen,
yes, I had nobody call me.
No.
Weber, Houston.
No.
Okay, then it fails then.
4-3.
4-3. Okay, moving on to the next item, which would be,
Need to know the person in my district. I'll just, I can call and talk to him and find out more information.
where do I put that up? Okay, hold on.
Library board report?
Yep. Item 11 is a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a resolution appointing Quentin Stenger to the Library Board of Trustees. So first, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Greg DeBoer is moving out of town, so his spot is open, so we had contacted the library board, the librarian and people on the library board about another male to take his place, and we had gotten Quentin Steger's name, and somewhere I have, here it is. Okay, he and his wife and 2 children live over in the northeast section. He thoroughly enjoys the breadth of what our library has to offer over the last 13 years. He's a physician's assistant in family medicine and is passionate about volunteering for our community in a variety of ways, from coaching multiple sports to building and maintaining park landscaping at J.C. Park. He's very proud of our library and its true modern that our library is a true modern library and is adapted to meet the current needs of all ages in our community, and I want to continue, and he wants to continue in that tradition. Any discussion with regard to my recommendation to appoint him to the library board? Hearing none, that would be a roll call vote then.
Moore,
Yes.
Brusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Next, we move to item number 12. This is a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a resolution approving the engineering services agreement with Crawford Engineering and to authorize the city manager to sign the engineering services agreement.
So moved.
Second.
You have a motion, a second. This is for the project,
Independence Premium Foods.
yeah, Independence Premium Foods. Everybody's familiar?
Is this all-encompassing, like everything?
What we've done, Matt and also the city attorney have gotten together, made certain changes with, and met with Brian Crawford, or I don't know if they met, they talked on the phone or emailed back and forth about the changes, where they make each side's giving and taking, and this is what we've come up with, what we feel is a fair services agreement. So,
So there won't be hidden costs behind?
well, we hope not. I mean,
There still could, sorry.
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to
No,
cut you
go
off.
ahead.
Change orders.
There still could be change orders, there still could be modifications to the project, there still could be, related to construction staking specifically, that fee is not included in the $41,000 that's there. The $41,000 covers design, it covers an alternative design to get an outflow from the storm basin all the way over to the Wapsie River. That's a $6,000 add-on that I felt like the council wanted to at least examine that option. It doesn't mean that we have to spend that $6,000. Just that we at least need to take some initial look at it and see if that's a feasible option. If it's not feasible, then we'll only spend what we need to, I'm sure with Brian's help, to determine what's feasible there. And then the other thing is construction observation is included in that $41,000 total. Construction staking is not included, but what we did is we added some language in there that says that the owner retains the right to review construction staking costs and determine if they wish to approve or consider alternative options for said services. That gives us the ability to say, if somebody comes in and says, like a contractor comes in and says, hey, we can do our own stuff, we just need the data from the engineer. Doesn't happen a lot, but I've seen a few contractors do that. Then we could save some of that money, depending on whether the contractor, how that's all structured. There's going to be some more discussion about it when we get to that part of the project.
If I read,
I'm sorry, I'm just, because we've had some stuff come back at a higher cost than what we had originally thought, and our budget just doesn't hold with that.
Right.
Just trying to keep costs down.
Sure.
in reading over all of this information, the way I read it was anything on and above that's not included in that 41 is going to come to you before it ever happens.
Correct.
So if you can make that decision on your own, or it has to come to the council, either or. And the other question is, did our city attorney 100% back this contract as far as legalities?
So I don't think, I know you made the statement that the city attorney reviewed it, but I don't remember we sent this to Doug for review.
No, we asked him. We asked.
talked, I know that the mayor and I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doug had
I'm
input.
just making sure.
No, Doug had
He
input
did,
as well.
okay. There's been too many things going back and forth lately. So related to your first question, though, my intention on this is if it's something that I know is going to be an item that the whole council wants to know about, we're going to discuss it.
Correct.
If it's, my spending authority is up to $50,000. That does not mean that I'm going to go out and approve $30,000 to do construction staking. I would expect I wouldn't have a job very much longer if I did that.
Correct.
You didn't have to say correct. You could just shake your head. Thanks, Ralph. But, there has to be some ability for us to approve things that need to be approved if there's a situation where we need to address it quickly. But at the same time, we need to communicate. That's really what this comes back to me, is communication. I added some things in there about biweekly reviews, biweekly feedback and information from the engineer, so that we can make sure that that information is being fed to me and I can feed it to the council and so on and so forth.
So any of those things that are not included within that 41,000 because you had the exclusions in there.
Right.
those cannot just automatically happen until it comes to you or the council prior.
Correct. It would, at a bare minimum, it would have to go through me.
Correct.
And the majority of those things that are on that list are, negotiating easements and things like that, that are not expected for this particular project anyway.
Correct.
And it's been that way, hasn't it? Before they do change orders, aren't you aware of them happening?
For a change order, yes.
And that's what most of these would be change orders.
Well,
It's unforeseeable.
Some of them are change orders, but we'll talk about this at another time.
Sometimes, to my knowledge, things happen that are not brought to our attention.
Well, and
Right, and that's really what my changes
This is
that I
to
put.
eliminate that.
Right.
hope so, yeah.
That's the idea, yeah. I mean, the changes that I put in the contract that I worked out with Brian when we were going back and forth on this last, Wednesday and Thursday about this, were mainly related to communication, to making sure that we are communicating with each other, that the information's getting sent to us before it needs to be approved, rather than, hey, by the way, this happened. Which I'm not saying that that's what's happened. That's not at all what I'm saying. It's just, we want to make sure that communication is happening up front.
Okay, further discussion with regard to the motion? Hearing none, that's a roll call vote then?
Hold on, I gotta finish my note.
Okay. Here, let me do it.
Or it's gonna, my thought's gonna be lost. Crusader.
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Okay.
Passes 7-0. Next, we move to council member reports. Brett, do you have anything?
I have nothing at this time, Mayor.
Tom, do you have anything?
All is well.
Okay. Deb?
Nothing.
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Commendations to our street department again for getting out ahead of the bad weather. They salted and did the de-icing on areas that we needed, and we appreciate that.
Great, thanks for that.
And I think we already had a conversation earlier about the one phone call I did have was related to a safety issue with perhaps a need for a stop sign on Thursday.
Right, and that's going to be talked about at the work session itself.
Okay.
Matt?
I received an email back from Chris, the auditor at Buchanan County, this afternoon, that she would have those TIF reports completed by the end of the week.
Hey, yay.
So we should get those by the end of the week for us to look at. As Brian talked about, last Thursday, we went over to Intercog, went through the process of applying for STBG funds for the 2028 street rehab program, and were awarded. We originally asked for $330,000, and we were awarded $230 of that. A little bit of give and take has to occur every time we go there because they don't have the money to pay for everything that everybody asks for. So we worked through that, and we're able to come back with $230,000, rather than, I feel like, and Mr. Kylieber, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I feel like if I wasn't there and hadn't spoken up, we might have come back with not much of anything.
100% accurate.
So,
Matter of fact, I remember a time when Independence had monies committed to them. Nobody showed up. They lost the money.
yeah, so.
And-
And I want to thank Mr. Crawford as well for going with me to that and making sure that he was there to help support with the technical knowledge that was needed.
And my apologies for not being more vocal, but I had about $3.5 million that I didn't want to lose.
You did fine. It all worked out just fine.
And you wouldn't share with us?
No, seriously, Brian.
Only if you want to share my problems.
Something else that I'm working on that I wanted to make the council aware of, I've talked with Intercog, and I've talked with who's the architect that did the community visioning, Ritland
Cooper.
Ritland Cooper, yeah. I've talked with them about potentially applying for a RAISE grant in the future. This is not something that we would do this year. That's a federal level grant that provides millions of dollars usually when it provides money. It's a pretty high dollar thing when it happens. The project that I'm targeting for that is First Street West from 10th out to 20th. That would be the next phase of First. This is down the road a long ways, but it's something I wanted to make the council aware of, that I'm starting to have those conversations and talk about that. Trying to put together, I've met with Intercog about it as well, having them help us apply that or do that grant application and go through that process. RAISE grants can provide 100% funding. It doesn't look as good when you ask for 100% of the money, but it can provide 100% funding. Some of the projects,
That fits our budget.
yeah, doesn't it?
Yeah, thanks.
I know Cedar Falls got some money recently through a raise grant to do some streetscape improvement type stuff, so that's kind of why I'm looking at that as an option for that western corridor, trying to find money to help pay for that. I met with, or attended a meeting this morning with DNR regarding floodplain insurance rating maps. They're doing some 2D modeling of stuff now instead of 1D. I'm going to ask them to look at Independence and do some revisions and such of that, to do some refining. The big advantage to doing a 2D process, and I'm sure Brian, Mr. Kylieber, or Mr. Crawford, either one could speak to it better than I can, but the biggest advantage to doing that 2D modeling is it's much more accurate. With the 1D, the cross-section type modeling that they do for firm maps right now, you have to interpolate between those cross-sections and make some educated assumptions, shall we say, between those for where water levels are and where things are at. The 2D modeling is much tighter. It actually does, it's a much better model. So the DNR started looking at that. So like I said, I had that meeting this morning, and I've talked with them already about coming in and helping us do some updates to our floodplain mapping throughout the city to give us better data. The other thing I wanted to bring up, the price of the street sweeper that was included in 24. It's increased from $335,000 to $355,000. Hold on, I'll get there. It's an increase of $20,000 roughly due to increases in Freightliner's chassis costs. We had planned to trade the current sweeper that we have in at a value of $35,000, which would make the updated total cost $320,000. We have $330,000 budgeted. So we're fine in terms of being able to pay for it, but I wanted to let the council know that that cost has increased by $20,000.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I did authorize Mr. Esch to continue moving forward with that last Thursday, because with everything else with supply chain and things like that, we didn't want to wait. Yeah. So, and then the last thing that I've got is I'll be out of town Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week for IMMI in Iowa City. And maybe the 4th of July at the one it sounds.
Gonna be
That's all I
going
got.
crazy.
Thanks.
Do either
No restrictions.
Dave or Blake, do either of you have a report?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, then I need a motion to, no, I don't have anything.
Yeah, you do. You got a 7 o'clock appointment.
I do, but I've got an hour to get there.
Okay.
All right, need a motion to adjourn then?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.